the public. You are now live, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. We are now reconvened in public session. Do I have a motion to adjourn from executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Roll call vote, Ms. Ludwig,
Yes.
Mrs. Shockley,
Yes.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon, yes. 4 yeas, no nays. That was the public meeting is now convened at 7:04 p.m. Members of the public, welcome and a warm welcome to our presenters this evening. We expect Chief Frederick Heiss, Director of Public Safety for the town of Coventry, Miss Kristen Martini, Tax Assessor, and I see that Mr. McGee is on the call. Thank you for joining us, Mr. McGee. Mr. Wazika, how many members of the public are with us this evening?
Right now, we have 30. If we could wait a minute or two to make sure our town clerk gets in. She is not in the meeting at this moment, and we should have her here before we proceed. If we couldn't wait, like I said, a minute or two.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Ms. Mills, you're not presenting a report this evening, are you?
No, madam.
I'm sorry, what?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. But thank you for joining us, Ms. Mills.
You're welcome.
Our town clerk is now with us.
Yes, ma'am, we can proceed. Thank you very much for that delay.
Thank you. I'd like to announce to the public that the council met in executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42465A2 pertaining to litigation, specifically to discuss the following: job performance, character, physical, and mental health of a person or persons, specifically for the council to interview candidates for the following boards: Economic Development Commission, Conservation Commission, Board of Canvassers, alternates. Also pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42465A1 for consideration and action on specific proposed contractual terms for a prospective town manager, but not the complete contract. Pertaining to the first item, the council interviewed 4 candidates, 1 for Economic Development Commission, 1 for the Conservation Commission, and 2 for the Board of Canvassers, alternates. Votes were taken and the votes will be ratified in the public session. Pertaining to the second item, the council voted to approve specific proposed contractual terms for a prospective town manager. The vote will be ratified in the public session. The item was before the council this evening because on March 11th, there was an incorrect description on the agenda for the item, nor did it say the council would take a vote. This evening, the council met in executive session to vote on certain proposed contractual terms for a prospective town manager candidate. There was a vote to approve the specific terms. The complete contract with the specific contractual terms will be ratified in public session. May I have a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Do I
I'll
have
second
a
it.
second? Thank you, Mr.
Second.
LeBlanc. Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
LeBlanc,
Yes.
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley. Yes. Ann Dixon.
Yes. 4 yeas, no nays. The motion is approved. Council, may I have a motion to move item E1, tax assessors, additions and abatements, just after C5, so Ms. Martini will not have to wait for her presentation.
I'll make a motion to change the agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, vote. Please raise your hand if you approve to move the item. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Ms. Martini, you will be presenting just after item C5. Item C2, approval of town council meeting minutes for February 8th, 2021. Are there any corrections? Ms. Ludwig?
Yes, so first one, on page 5 of the minutes, on page 5 in the first paragraph, I think in that first paragraph, I think it's meant to say superintendent of schools. I think it's just a spelling mistake. And then towards the bottom of that page, the third to last paragraph, it looks like there's quotations around the last line. She stated we have the ability. I don't think quotations are needed there. And then the sentence afterwards where it says Councilmember Shockley, I think we need to update that sentence in general. So, and it's actually something that Councilmember Shockley said. So I wanted to give her the ability to change that. Right now it says Councilmember Shockley talked about making the change locally as opposed to through the state and noted that it sounds as if they would be making the change locally. I don't think that makes sense. So I was going to suggest if Member Shockley was okay with it, maybe just taking out the last part of that sentence after the word and. So, and noted that it sounds. Maybe we can take that last part out if you're okay with that, Kim. It just didn't make sense to me the way it's written there.
It seems like it should end at state.
Yeah, so that it just didn't make sense to me. So I would agree to that sentence to probably be changed. That's all from my
I would be
side. Thank
fine
you.
with that.
Thank you. Are there any other corrections? All right, I have 3 corrections on page 4 of the minutes. About halfway down, it says he believes the purpose is to have this House bill. I believe it should say he believes the purpose of this House bill. Mr. LeBlanc, this refers to something that you said. So on page 4, change to he believes the purpose of this House bill. Also, 3 specific reasons. It should be an S on reasons. So that is on page 4. On page 5, there's a paragraph that begins with Council Member LeBlanc, Mr. LeBlanc. The 3rd sentence down, it says assess upon the owners. I think it should be assess the owners of the land and remove the word upon. Are there any other corrections that members would like to offer for the minutes? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the amended minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Any other discussion? Okay. Let's have a roll call vote. Madam Clerk?
Jamie LeBlanc,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley,
Yes.
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
Ann Dixon.
Yes, thank you. The minutes for February 8th, 2021 are approved as amended. Item C3, the council is committed to increasing transparency and open government, and our department head presentations are part of our plan. We want our community members to be aware of the services and benefits that our municipal government provides. It is my pleasure to introduce Chief Frederick Heiss III. Chief Heiss was sworn in by interim town manager Edward Zeker on June 23rd, 2020. He joined the Coventry Police Department as a recruit in March 1996 and worked his way up to major in 2016 and then to interim town manager in March 2020. The shortened version of the mission statement of the Public Safety Department is on the website, says to protect the community we serve, enhance the public safety, and reduce the incidences and fear of crime. It's my pleasure to welcome Chief Heiss with us this evening. We can't hear you, Chief.
Check your mic, chief.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
All set, chief.
Hi, thank you very much for having me on here tonight. First, I'd like to also take a moment to thank the men and women that work for the Coventry Police Department, because without them, we wouldn't have the great reputation that we have. It's their hard work and their professionalism of the 57 sworn officers and civilian staff that allow us to have that reputation. Our civilian staff is comprised of administrative staff, animal control, dispatchers, crossing guards, clerks in our MIS IT department. We are an accredited police department. We got that in January of 2019. It was a time-consuming process. Part of that process is 200 standards of best practices that the department must meet. Those standards are actually broken down further into subcategories, which are quite intensive. It requires our policies to be up to date and for us to be training continually to meet these standards. The accreditation process allows us to help lower the town's liability and keeps the employees safe and well-trained as in addition. In 2020, we had approximately 19,000 calls for service. It resulted in 2,225 offenses, 3,246 citations, 1,031 arrests, and 824 accidents. The patrol division responded to these incidents initially, and if there was further follow-up needed, they'd be sent to our detective division. The patrol patrols the area of approximately 64 square miles, and we divide it into 5 areas. When they're driving around, they're putting on about 40 to 45,000 miles a year, and it adds up the mileage quite quickly on the vehicles. We have 12 frontline vehicles. Of our frontline vehicles, 41% of them have over 100,000 miles. 33% have over 50,000 miles. The mileage on them is not really accurate in that when cars are idling, they actually put on more miles. And I believe it's like around 20 miles additional for every hour they idle. So we have a fast turnaround on vehicles. And some people might say that the 100,000 miles isn't much, but ours have a lot more wear and tear on them just because of the use, because they're operating 24/7. The detective division would follow up on any cases that were referred to them, or if there was a high liability or other type of case, such as could be a larceny, identity theft, credit cards, fraud, sexual assaults, child molestation, child pornography, or other white-collar crimes or human trafficking. There's 11 detectives that work in that division, and they also investigate night narcotics as well. We have 2 school resource officers, one at the high school and one at the middle school. They're more like a liaison to the schools, and that they help work with the teachers and also the students and the police department. They review safety and security plans. They help teach the ALICE training, which is like a run, hide, fight motto, and that they, in case there's an active shooter or some sort of incident at the school. Additionally, during the pandemic, they assisted by help distributing meals to the children when they needed them, for those in need. We try to do a lot of community outreach also in the police department. We have a Facebook account. There's 21,000 followers. We're the 3rd most followed police agency in Rhode Island. We've participated in Halloween trunk or treats, 'Tis the Season charities, and No Shave November charities, which actually went on November, December, and January, raised some money for some charities. The we have pandemic restrictions have kind of really put a damper on our community outreach. We would normally have coffee with a cop, and also I'd like to start the Citizens Police Academy back up, but we haven't been able to with the COVID issues that are going on and the restrictions that have been statewide. But hopefully, once the vaccinations happen and and restrictions are eased, we can start that back up again. We recently started a hiring process because right now we have 3 vacancies for the department. We had 56 applicants apply to us. We currently finished the written test, the physical agility, and the oral interviews. And we'll be starting now with our background checks on the candidates to see how they are. As far as traffic enforcement, a lot of people don't know how to report an issue, but all they need to do is call the police station, and we can set up selective enforcement in certain areas. And if it actually is needed, I can also conduct traffic studies to see how many vehicles go in an area, what the general speed is, the time of day, and things like that. We only have one of those units, so it would kind of be a rotating basis as far as can't do everywhere at one time. And in the wintertime, it makes it tough because we can't put that out with the plowing and everything else. The police department also has a regional SWAT team. It's regional with West Warwick. The SWAT team has been in effect for over 20 years. They train monthly to maintain proficient skills. They have a negotiator in there to help get a peaceful outcome rather than have to have any sort of force needed. We do apply for grants. We've done probably about 150,000 in grants per year. We get a blue riptide grants. Those would be like DUIs, speed, click it or ticket, distracted driving, child seat installations, pedestrian crosswalk areas. We have a grant currently in effect for one of our school resource officers. We also have a REMA grant that we have. It's for our EMA assistant director. We have also alcohol and tobacco compliance checks that we do, which are also grants. As far as the police department, I'm not sure if anyone has any questions on that before I move into EMA.
Mrs. Shockley, you're on mute.
Thank you. I just wanted to check just on your numbers. So 19,000 calls in 2020 with over 1,000 leading to arrests, did you say?
1,031 arrests. It was like 18,924 is the exact number, I think, on the calls for service. It's about 19,000.
Okay. And I just wonder, are those all, so those are all within the limits of Coventry? 1,000 arrests, it seems like a lot.
Actually, the numbers with the COVID pandemic going on, they're actually somewhat down a little bit from what we normally have by a few hundred. I think it's because people are staying home and maybe not getting as much trouble as they normally would.
Everything has a silver lining.
Yes.
So we usually have about 1,300 arrests a year. And I guess I just wonder, is that a lot for a town our size, or possibly even what's the average person arrested for in Coventry?
So the rest would vary. You could have something like a suspended license with when they actually change it for multiple offense, but could be possession of narcotics, it could be larcenies, and like we get shoplifting, so at Walmart, domestic violence, we get a lot of that. Could be, there's so many different things people get in trouble for.
Well, I also just wanted to say I appreciate your Facebook page. It really makes you a part of the community.
Oh.
Someone's doing a good job on that. It's funny.
I got to give a lot of credit to. We have a team that works on it, and they do it. I'm not too savvy with Facebook, but they're very good.
Any other?
That's all. Thank you.
Ms. Ludwig.
Thank you, President Dixon, and thank you, Chief Heist, for joining us tonight. I have taken advantage of some of the programs that you just talked about, so I did want to just say a big thank you. Specifically, just a few months ago, one of the car seat, I forget the official name for it, but there was a car seat program that two officers helped with. I have 3 car seats in my car, so you can imagine how tough it is to get them all lined up together at the same time safely. And so they helped me get those in the right way, and I was very appreciative. I think many times when you hear about the police station or the police, some people may, maybe conjure up a negative ideal, but I've had very professional interactions. I really appreciated the service provided a few months ago that my family and I participated in. I did come for a tour of the new facility last week. I was very impressed by the staff, the officers. Everyone was extremely professional. So just a big thank you for everything that you and your team do.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in and seeing everything and talking.
Any other questions from members of the council? Okay, I have a question, Chief Heist. I often get questions about the patrols. How many patrols are out? How many cars are out? Could you please explain to us the patrol system in each of the districts, the amount of coverage there is in each of the districts, and how the districts are covered?
Sure. So we have on the day shift and second shift, there's a patrol minimum of 5 officers. And on the midnight shift, there's 4 officers. There will also be, in addition to that, a road supervisor on each one of those shifts. And you'd have a desk supervisor inside and a dispatcher inside. That's the minimum manning. We could have more officers on the road if staffing levels permit it.
So people often ask, I mean, we don't see the police, especially out in District 1. So just tell us a little bit more about how the patrols are sent, how often they are asked to patrol on a normal situation when they're not called out for particular incidents. Could you please explain to us how those patrols operate?
Sure. So they're given an area. Like I said, there was 5 areas that the town is divided into. The western end is called, like our area 4 is what we call it. It's a larger area just because of less population in the western end. So it would be normally 1 officer assigned to each one of those areas, except for midnights where you could have less coverage, depending on staffing.
And so would the patrol officers who are assigned to a particular district be called into another district if there was a need, or do they just stay in that district?
Nope, they can cross over as needed. In addition to that, we would call for mutual aid because we have mutual aid agreements with surrounding towns too. So we could call for them for assistance too if needed. Okay,
thank you. Any other questions? Chief Heist, why don't you continue with your presentation? I know you have more for us.
Okay. What I'm talking about now is EMA. Since the pandemic started, Coventry has been involved in numerous regional vaccination clinics. We started back in December. We were teamed up with Exeter, West Greenwich, Cranston, Warwick. Trying to think who else was there. There's 7 of us, 7 towns, and basically we were doing vaccination for first responders and healthcare people, and that went on until we ended that. I want to say just about mid-March we ended that, and since then. We started in Coventry doing vaccination clinics for the 65 and older population since February, roughly. It varied in times, varied in ages, going back from 75 and older to then 65 and older. We've been partnered with Coventry, it would be Coventry, Exeter, and West Greenwich, and we've been doing those at 1675 Flever Road. Just to give you an idea of the vaccinations that we did, since February, we've done about 1,686 vaccinations. at that location. And of those, 1,210 were from Coventry. And then just on Friday, we did another vaccination clinic. That was at the high school, and that was for teachers and staff. At that clinic, we did 513 vaccinations at that day. They were all, I can't tell you exactly where they were from because it was a regional one with us, Exeter and West Greenwich. So I'm not sure the breakdown as far as who was from exactly where there. The next clinic for that will be held on April 9th, and that'll be at the high school again. That'll be for the second dose. So as far as EMA, we've worked well with like this DPW, the town itself, the fire departments. We try to meet monthly just to discuss various issues that might be happening. It could be like we would get together. It could be for if we had a hurricane or if we had a blizzard, and we would be staffing our emergency operations center for that, and if the need was there. The school department's another one we work well with, try to help them out too. So I'd have to say, from my experience, there's not as good a collaborative effort with the town departments as there is in Coventry compared to anywhere else. A lot of issues happen between different locations. It could be a fire department won't talk to the police department. It could be that nobody's involved with the town, but in Coventry, it's not the case. We work very well together. Does anyone have any questions on what we're doing in EMA right now?
I don't have any more questions on EMA, but Ms. Ludwig, do you?
I just wanted to ask hopefully a clarifying question. So is there some sort of, I don't know, agreement or involvement between EMA and then the COVID-19 task force, or are they together, working together, or can you just clarify how the relationship works?
So the way that works is Department of Health would give us basically marching orders. We've been preparing, I've been working on the meds plan alone myself. I want to say maybe 9 years I've been involved in it. And I've basically set up at the two schools. That's where the floor plans are for them. And it could be something like if you had, it could be a radiological event that you had to get iodine out to people or something like that, or vaccination things, or pills, any of those type of things. And Department of Health kind of gives us the information of what we're going to be dispensing, and they basically tell us we have to run everything by them that we're going to do, and they give us, like, in case of the vaccinations, they tell us how much we have and the limits on it, what we can do with it.
Okay, thanks. So completely separate. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Chief Heiss, I do have a couple of questions for you. You gave us some statistics concerning number of arrests, et cetera. What other kinds of statistics does the Public Safety Department keep?
As far as like what people are arrested for?
Yeah.
So we have, IMC can break down, it's by like different codes, like crimes against person, crimes against property, things like that. There's statistics that can be run, and you can show increases or decreases in those. I'm not sure if that's the kind of statistics you're looking for.
No, I'm not looking for anything in particular. I'm just curious as to what other kinds of statistics might be of interest to the public that you do keep.
So those would be one thing that we have. It's statistics on, it can tell you the percentage increase of a certain crime or a decrease. As far as we can do tell you traffic stops and things where they happen.
Mhm.
Those are available.
Okay, thank you. My next question is this. Sometimes people in a neighborhood suspect that there's something illegal going on. They don't have hard evidence, but they have a suspicion. And they don't really go to the police department to report it because they are fearful about what kind of repercussions there may be. So my question to you is this. What kind of confidentiality is kept for a person who might come to the police department and report and say, I think that something XYZ is happening in my neighborhood?
So we're trying to keep it confidential the best we can. If they're a witness to something, then there's really no guarantee that they would not have to testify on it, especially if they are a witness to it. But we would do our best to keep them as confidential as possible.
So if a person is not necessarily a witness to something, but just has a suspicion, then that could be kept confidential if they gave a report?
We'd rather have the information come to us. So what they could do is they could call in and say, I don't need my name or number, but this is going on at this location. And we can try to look into it the best we can with them being anonymous, basically.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Other questions? Mr. Shockley?
I'm just wondering what your advice would be. There have been a couple times during the course of this year where Facebook has looked for information on people. A lot of people have those cameras now at their front door. And I know of two separate times, once where children were accused of stealing and another time where recently adults' faces were shown as possibly breaking into homes. How do you recommend people take care of those situations as opposed to sharing them on Facebook or other social media?
My recommendation would be to show it to the police first before you go the other avenue. We may have to share something if we don't have any idea who the people are. But it's a lot of times it's like you said, it could be a false accusation, it could be something else. It's totally not it. But if we have the information ourselves, if we're given the video, we can kind of vet it. We can probably take care of that ourselves better.
And if it seems something worthy of sharing on social media to get the help of the community, then the police station will do that.
Right, we could post it on our Facebook, which we've done in other cases.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. LeBlanc?
Chief, thanks for joining us tonight, and thanks for your report. I just have one question. Given that we're in a level funded budget this year and we have 3 months left, is there any significant items or expenses that you would like to have in the next 3 months, but you just can't because we're level funded? Is there any significant needs that you might have? Just wanted to at least ask the question.
So again, a lot of our needs revolve around vehicles because basically our office is on wheels. When the mileage gets up, like we have one vehicle that's 150,000 miles on it, and I can't imagine what the actual mileage would be if we took its idling time, because these run 24/7, so there's no real downtime unless it's out of service for some reason. So vehicles are one of the biggest things we need out of our budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the council? Okay, thank you so much, Chief Heiss. We greatly appreciate your being with us this evening, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you in a few more weeks when we talk about the budget.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye. Okay, our next agenda item is C4. Ms. Mills was to give a monthly finance report, but I received an email late this afternoon that Ms. Mills is unable to provide a monthly financial report. She has been tied up with meetings, report writing, supporting data for bond disclosure reports, additional monthly and annual financial reports, and beginning the work on the FY 21-22 budget. So even though there is not a specific report, I'm going to ask if there are any members of the council who would like to ask Ms. Mills any quick questions because she is on the line with us. Ms. Ludwig?
So more of just a general question. So I understand why, it might not be ready for tonight, but what is the plan? Is it going to be presented at the next meeting, or how will we kind of play catch up?
Excuse me. I'm actually working on it right now. It's almost complete. We've had some IT issues on how certain things are recorded in the payroll module. So in lieu of giving you an inaccurate report, I wanted to make them correct, the adjustments corrected. It's up to my boss, Ed, when he wants to submit it. It'll be ready by the next town council meeting. I was hoping to catch up, but we have there's a lot of stuff in this finance. Obviously the financials are not, they're on extension, and they're going to have to be extended again because the actuary reports are still not in. So it's there's a lot of stuff that you would typically see completed in December, early January. I'm having to kind of play catch up. So that's partly why. And then there's, conversion issues, which is pretty common. But that's a long-winded answer for your question. It should be ready by the next town council meeting, Ed, whenever you feel you want to do that. But the next town council meeting, I thought we were going to just focus on the budget, but I'm not sure of that. So
The next regular town council meeting is April 12th. We do have a meeting to discuss the budget next week. We have one night for the public school budget and one night for the municipal budget. But then our regular meeting is the 12th. So my question is, if we delay until April 12th, what can we expect at that point in time?
and when you say what's to be expected, is it expected to be completed, or what are we looking for, like budget to actuals?
Well, we talked about a monthly financial report.
Yeah.
And so my question is, in April, would we receive a monthly financial for January, February, March, April, or all four of them?
Yeah, we're looking for both January and February. I was trying to do one every town council meeting, but we ran into a snag with the payroll module because we're doing some account modifications and stuff like that. So yes, to answer your question, I do try to, the game plan is January, February, and March by the following one. So to get caught up.
So by April 12th, we should get the January and February report.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when we are at our meeting in May, what report would we get then? March?
Oh, yes, yes. Ideally, ideally, to get into the schedule for the finance department, I was looking for that the monthly report be delivered on the last week of every month for the prior month's financials. So that's a very doable goal. The first town council meeting of the second week of the month would be pretty tight because we're trying to close. We don't have all the revenue in and all that good stuff. So does that sound adequate?
We can go to that. So on April 12th, why don't we say that we will hear the January and February meeting, a monthly report. And then we can move to the end of the month after that.
Yes, is that all right?
Well, I'm going to ask the members of the council how that sounds to them. Mr. LeBlanc.
I was just wondering about format. I know historically when I've attended the budget sessions, we actually show the budget prior year to current year's budget at the not only the account level, but the detail level. And I was wondering if we could get something like that for actuals, maybe actuals by department, by account. And then I was also wondering if we could actually post this to the town's website so that anybody who wants to see how the town is doing, if we could post something to the town's website. That's just
Jamie, we can,
suggestions.
if I may, we'll be able to set up the system to start generating some of these reports we've got to spend some time going in and writing the report so they'll be automatic. And after the 5th, I will have more time available. And that's one of the things I'm planning on doing, is spending more on this finance package. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on this. It wasn't done. The former finance director was taking the lead on it, and it became more complex apparently. And so we will be clearing that up and fixing some of these issues over the next month or two. And yeah, those reports will be able to get easier to get out of the system.
And post it to the town's website for all to see?
Yep, that's not a problem at all. We can post them up.
Okay, I mean, obviously if the town council wants it, but just.
Right.
Yes, of course. So I just want to circle back to these dates while Ms. Mills is on the line with us. So on April 12th, we will get a report for January and February. Then on May 24th, which would be our second meeting in May, we would get the report for March and April. And then the last meeting in June, we would be able to get the report for May. Is that correct?
Perfect. Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Because then we hit the summertime and our schedule goes wacky, but we'll figure that out as we go along. Okay. Mrs. Shockley, do you have any questions? You all,
Not at this time, thank you.
okay, Ms. Ludwig?
Not a question, just a comment. Thank you. I know there's a lot going on and you're getting up to speed, Director Mills. I think this will be a big win for us once we kind of get into this cadence to have the town council see these numbers, be able to ask questions, and be able to show to the public, to Council Member LeBlanc's point. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. We're now moving on to the next agenda item. We voted to bring up agenda item E1, Ms. Kristen Martini. This is reference page 93 to 98 for the town council. This is a tax assessor's report. Ms. Martini.
Hello,
Hello, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
Very well.
I'm glad. So this month we have abatements in the amount of $11,684.28. And then we have additions of $15,652.48. That's it.
Members of the council, do you have any questions on Ms. Martini's tax assessor's report? Ms. Ludwig?
Ms. Martini, do you mind just taking a look at a couple of the numbers with us? A couple of them stood out to me. There were two items on page 97 of the agenda. So this is abatement page 2. So two of these places say out of business,
Mhm.
and then they list a small amount. So is this something that we write off when that business goes out, or can you just explain the process to me?
No, I abate the tax amount. The bill shouldn't have gone out in the first place.
Okay, so you're saying that it was a bill that went out that shouldn't have, because they've already sent
They-
something in saying, okay, we're done in
Yes,
Coventry.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay. And then one other question, I was just curious about, let's see what line item this is. So the abatement it's on page 2, the second line item. It's 16-1893. It just seemed like a larger amount than we're used to seeing normally. So do you mind just walking us through what the issue on this one was?
That is a large piece of property on the western side of Coventry that the gentleman appealed the value. And for some reason, in the last reval, the reval company, it's pretty much a vacant parcel. It has an old, we're calling it a barn. It was a house. The guy's grandfather built it. The roof is caved in. It's at like almost no value. So it's this big, pretty much vacant piece of land that for some reason the reval company put a prime site on it when there was no building really, and then added a second prime site, really whacking out its value. And I just it just wasn't fair. No, I haven't seen one other property with a second prime site on it in town since I got here.
Sorry, can you just explain what prime site means?
That's the zoned, the minimum zoning you would need for the building. So that generally values higher than your rear land, which is your excess.
So
He shouldn't
it
even
sounds
had
like,
one, and he had two.
okay, so it sounds like that second one just shouldn't have gone out systemically.
I'm
It
sorry.
shouldn't have gone out. It shouldn't have gone out in the first place then.
It shouldn't have been valued that way in the first place. No.
Okay. I think that's it from my side, President Dixon. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions by members of the council? Mrs. Shockley?
Yeah, I just want to verify that I'm understanding correctly. The T-board decision, is that the Board of Review?
Yes, that's the Tax Assessment Board of Review.
Okay, so that's just when the tax assessor doesn't change it and they go beyond?
Yes, yes. I deny it generally, and they bring it to the board.
Okay, so the rest of them, you approved as the tax assessor, you looked at it, you realized this was wrong, but this one moved forward. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I'm understanding the document correctly.
No problem.
Are there any other questions? Madam Clerk, will you please read the resolution on page 98?
Be it resolved that the additional tax abatements and additions for the month of January, February, and March 2021. I don't think that's right. Be hereby approved by the Coventry Town Council. I don't think that's correct. Was it 3 months, Carrie?
January, February, March, yes, it was.
Yeah, so
That is correct. May I have a motion to approve the resolution that appears on page 98 of your packet?
Make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Any discussion? Okay. Madam Clerk, please take a roll call vote, please.
We can do hands.
We can do hands, okay. If you approve the resolution, please raise your hand. 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you.
Karen, thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you all, and I appreciate you moving me up some. Thank you.
We'll do that every time we
You
possibly
earned it.
possibly
Appreciate it.
can. Okay. We're now moving to consent agenda, section D. Before we begin this section, I want to make an announcement concerning item D5, which appears on page 84. Agenda item D5, given information the interim town manager received today from Mr. Stephen E. Coleman, Jr., Chief, Rhode Island Division of Municipal Finance, Department of Revenue, the town may not use federal CARES money allocated to Coventry for the purpose of the request for COVID funds from the Coventry Public Schools. And given advice from our legal counsel, Mr. Nick Gorham, the council is unable to act on this agenda item this evening. I do really sincerely apologize for this late notice that we have received. Any questions from members of the council? We will now move to item D1. Reference pages 17 to 23. Madam Clerk, would you please read the agenda item, please?
approval of National Grid Verizon pole location request, Maple Valley Road, installing 3 new poles, Old North Road, installing new P6-1 40-foot from existing P6, Hopkins Hill Road, install subpole 13-84 and anchor should say 30 feet east across the street.
Members of the council, do you have any questions before we take a motion? Mrs. Shockley,
So I wasn't sure if you could explain the difference between the stub pole and other types of poles.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a totally different document. I just wasn't sure why.
I do not know.
Ed?
I do not know the difference myself.
Shut up.
These, they choose to use different types of poles in different types of situations. What it is, it's up to them based on the need. Again, these are all just a standard application that goes in, and because it's on town property, you guys have to approve it. It's but these are just
Oh my God, he's unbelievable.
someone has got an open mic.
Ms. Martini,
They just call me?
Ms. Martini, I think your audio is on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you. We're back to,
You're welcome.
we're back to understanding polls now.
Karen, you can disconnect if you'd like. You're all set. So, yeah, so these are just the standard, we get these in numerous times a year and do it. But as far as stump pole versus regular pole, I know Mr. McGee is on, and Kevin may actually know the difference. I don't. Kev, do you know the difference on it?
Yes, I do.
Of course you do, sir.
The sub pole is not carrying any lines. It is a pole that's taken out to anchor an additional, and that's why you have the guy wire there. And that's why it's
Okay,
called
I
a sub
gotcha.
pole. And also one other clarification, I know it's the town clerk indicated it was Hopkins Hill Road, but it's actually Hopkins Hollow Road, which is in the western part of Coventry.
Our agenda does
It's correct on
specify,
everything.
yeah, our agenda does specify Hopkins Hollow.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this?
President Dixon,
Yes,
can I
Ms.
just
Ludwig.
follow that up with one?
Certainly.
And maybe this again is Mr. Wazika, you can possibly ask Kevin. Could you just finish out that sentence? So the stub pole, thank you for explaining that. And what does it mean tree guy snapped? I just wasn't familiar with the terminology there.
What they used was a guy wire to hold a pole, and they attached it to a tree. The tree snapped during one of the storms. Subsequently, they decided to put a sub pole in to guide the pole that is holding the wires.
Okay. Okay. I can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions by members of the council? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the National Grid Verizon pole location request for Maple Valley Road, Old North Road, and Hopkins Hollow Road?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig.
I'll second it.
Second, Mr. Shockley, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Raise your hand if you approve the National Grid Verizon pole location request. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you. Moving on to agenda D2. Madam Clerk, please read the agenda item.
Rhode Island DOT Municipal Road and Bridge Revolving Loan Fund Project Loan Application 2021-2022 Program, Johnson's Boulevard, Culvert Replacement, Waterman Hill Road and Hall Road Resurfacing Project.
Thank you. Council members, this is reference pages 24 to 40.
If I may on this, just to give the council some information on it. We are
Yeah.
not actually looking for permission to go to a loan. We're looking for permission to start the process. And in turn, we will possibly be able to get grants on these projects. but we need to start at least the application process. For us to do a loan on any of this, we would still have to come in front of the council and go for your permission for that. But I'll let Kevin McGee, who's put this in for it, to explain to the council further on this.
Mr.
Thank you,
McGee,
Mr. Councilwoman Dixon, rest of the council, thank you very much for having me tonight. What we're looking at here is two different projects. One is to position the town to be able to achieve grants that are coming up that we have applied for, especially the Johnson's Boulevard project. Currently, CB Utility has been awarded a contract by Kent County Water Authority for the next water main relocation. During the process of engineering this, the last time this was looked at was back in 2011, I believe. And the cost to bring the water lines under the culverts were prohibitive, so it didn't allow us to go forward with the FEMA grant. I met with our new chief engineer from Kent County Water Authority. As they were designing this, they designed it so that the water mains were going to go underneath the culverts. One of the things here is that I've spoken to CB Utility, and they're going to be meeting with me this week. While they have this already excavated to put the pipes in, this would be the time for us to go forward and put the culvert pipes in, and they'll restore the road, and we won't have to be digging up a new road at the same time. The estimated cost to do this, if we were going to do it independent of anything else, would be approximately $260,000. This is part of a problem where you may have seen this winter where residents on Westlake were talking about some flooding issues. This is part of that whole process, that we have to repair this culvert. And downstream of this also, there's two ditches that we're in the process of getting ownership easements from the 4 neighbors that are there in order to upgrade that by York Drive. We couldn't ask for a better time in timing. We have climate resilience grants that we've applied for. In the event we have to have matching funds, we will have to have matching funds. Part of this DOT loan application for the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank would be part of our backup to any of our process that we need to put in that we can't provide services for. The Waterman Hill, the job is such a large project, in that it's also a green project, and that we have to raise the elevation, and part of that because of the high water table, and that's why the road has been decaying over the years. So we would institute part of the green infrastructure portion, which is also another item that is eligible for grant opportunities in different. We have climate resiliency, and we also have a stormwater process that we're going through right now. I was in a Zoom meeting today with SNAP, which is a Southern New England Protective, and it's a stormwater initiative that they have coastal money available, and that would qualify. So this is basically just a letter. We need a letter from the council saying we have the ability to go after funds, and it's part of the application. And then we may not even be qualified or chosen for these projects, but I think it's in good use of our time and effort to at least try to have the town eligible for funding through grants and have this infrastructure bank money available as part of our match.
so as I understand it, the motion this evening is to approve the loan application to the Rhode Island Municipal Road and Bridge Revolving Loan Fund. Is that correct?
Yes, it's part of the application. You'll see it on the Johnson's Boulevard. It's on page 3. And it just asks, does your municipal have the authority to borrow for the full amount of the project? And the answer would be yes, and it asks for us to attach a resolution from the town council saying so. It does not mean that we've applied for it. Or it does not, anything would have to go back to the council, but this gets our foot in the door to at least apply for the projects.
So this is a motion to apply for the projects. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Motion to apply for projects. Okay. Are there any questions from members of the council? Mr. LeBlanc?
On page 28 of 189, our packet, question 10, it says, is this project part of municipal plans? And then in parentheses, it says capital budget, comprehensive plan, asset management plan, etc. The answer was yes, this project is part of the town's capital improvement program. Is that capital improvement program that impact fee analysis that we reviewed a couple meetings ago? Is that what we're referring to in that capital improvement program? I just want to clarify.
No, we've actually putting this into our capital budget for this coming year. You haven't seen it yet, but it's in the capital budgets. The one for Waterman Hill is currently in our capital budget. That's been in our capital budget for the last 4 years at least. And that's not been funded in all that time also.
Okay, so one is in, and then
And one
one's
will be-
been in,
one
and
will
then
be-
one will be in the next, in FY 22's budget, essentially.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions by members of the council? Ms. Ludwig?
So it sounds, Director McGee, it sounds like we're not actually signing up to get a loan here.
That's correct.
We're just going out to see the grants. So I wasn't actually aware that you were going out for things like this. So is there someone in the office that does this? Is it you that goes out for the grant? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I've been working along with the town engineer, identify it, do the background, and work with the town engineer in putting this together so that we actually can go after grants. We go after numerous grants. We don't always succeed, but at least we're trying.
Okay, interesting. I know that some municipalities have maybe not grant writing staff at the local level, but they have people who can aid in that. So I'm just wondering if we have any, maybe this is for Mr. Wazika, do we have any type of resources to aid, you know, not just Director McGee, but anybody that's going out looking for grants?
We don't, I have found in past experience, the best one to write the grant is the one from that department who knows what they're going after. We had money in the budget years ago to do a grant writer, a part-time grant writer, and somehow, some way that never occurred. So all of our departments that go after grants, I mean, Kevin's one of them. Bob Robillard is another one that goes after them. Raina goes after them. They are, most of our department heads are going after grants on an annual basis. I mean, so it's not something that, again, a lot of people don't know what we do when it comes to this, but a lot of our department heads are going in after it. Do we need assistance? I mean, honestly, to this point, we haven't. They all do a great job of doing what they do. I'm assuming if we got some newer department heads in further down the road who have no experience on writing grants, then maybe they would need it then. But at this point, our people do a great job doing these and going after them and getting them. Bob Robillard got nearly a $500,000 one with Craig Levis. I mean, so they do, the schools side does the same thing. So extra work is part of what they do. Adding an extra cost to bringing somebody on, again, the money can go somewhere better in our budget where we do need help. And at this point, I don't feel as though we need help in that area. I may be wrong, and if you want to go with that route, you can. But we're finding that our department heads are doing a great job of going after them on their own.
I was actually referring just more to whether there was anybody on staff that can help here, just because I'm assuming, Director McGee, you know, the biggest portion of your day isn't writing grants. So I was just curious if we had anybody that was helpful, but it sounds like you're actively going after these. So that's great. That's not something that I understood that you in the office were working on. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, a lot of credit goes to the town engineer. We work collaboratively on trying to go after these grants that are based upon the stormwater science.
Ms.
Thanks.
Stockley, you have a question?
Yes, so Director McGee, you had mentioned that without doing it in collaboration with Kent County Water, it could cost $260,000.
That's correct.
Is that why that's the amount you have in construction costs? You're putting what the full cost could be?
I am, because we haven't nailed down an agreement with the company. And again, we just found out this week that CB Utility had been the company that was awarded the project by Kent County Water Authority. I have spoken to their representative. And again, he's supposed to be meeting with me this week to go over this and find out what that would cost and what additional help the town could be, whether it's purchasing the pipe and having them install it along with the stone. We're gonna work out whatever we can, whatever's in the best interest of the town and save the taxpayers money.
So if we can't collaborate with Kent County, is there any benefit to doing this now? Is it like a specific amount of homes that are impacted by this flooding, or just looking for?
Well, the flooding issue is that entire area, which during the 2010 floods, even included Hopkins Hill School, and it's downstream into the Lake George, Little Lake Tyoke, and into Lake Tyoke, which then affects the dam and the flooding issues that we have to deal with there. So it's all goes downstream, and all this water comes from the central New England area and Route 95. So there's a stream that runs through there, and we're trying to control the flooding issues. This has been identified by FEMA and by the town, that we're trying to do it as judiciously as possible and not cause the original estimate for this was $750,000. So that's been brought down to $260 by engineering it so that we can afford it.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah, and also that we'll be able to save more money by if we can collaborate with this contractor to do this while the road's already tore up.
And I guess now that you mentioned that, how did we engineer it differently to save about $500,000?
I met with the principal engineer at Kent County Water Authority when he came on board, and I explained when I heard that this project was on the books for 2022, 2021, that I told him what the problem was, and that in the event that we were able to work collaboratively with Kent County Water, if they could put that water in during the design phase, that would save the town a substantial amount of money so that we could move the project forward. And they agreed to do that for us.
So I also wonder, this is something that you want to have in the 21-22 budget?
Yes, if this doesn't go through, then we need to be able to at least have some money somewhere that we can go forward and get this project done so that we're not digging up a new road and having to do excavation by a new water line that's just been set.
And when would we know on this project?
I got to get it in first. As soon as the council agrees, the last piece of this is the resolution from the town, and then it'll go in tomorrow, and then we'll know from Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank whether or not we were successful or not.
But at what point would we have to commit if we needed a loan?
I haven't met with CBU yet to find out what their schedule is for that portion of Johnson Boulevard. I'll have more information as we go forward in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and I don't know if you're able to get this, but you know, if a budget isn't approved, I guess I'm really looking to know how many homes would be impacted if we can't do this. You know, with climate issues and those 100-year floods happening a lot more often than that. You know, how many individual homes as well as a school
I can get that
would
information.
be threatened? You know, I know right now we're just approving the ability to move forward, but as we look to put it in a budget, I was really looking just to get some more information.
We will have that for you. Thank you.
Mr. Director McGee, I'm very happy to see these projects in the planning phase. Hopefully we'll be able to get the grants. I know that I have received many complaints about water management, not necessarily on Johnson's Boulevard, but through many neighborhoods throughout the entire town. So water management and culvert maintenance is extremely important to our residents. So that's a good thing. The second thing I'd like to mention has to do with Waterman Hill Road and Hall Road, which is listed for resurfacing. Now, I know that you're just in the beginning phases of getting a grant, but I just want to make sure that you will be mindful of the types of street signs that have to go up on roads that are in the district that are down for resurfacing, because Hall Road and Waterman Hill Road, there have been many concerns by residents about the speed of traffic through those roads for people cutting through from Connecticut to Rhode Island. And and also the amount of truck traffic. And so I did go down those roads over the weekend. There are no speed signs on Hall Road, and there are some speed signs on Waterman Hill. So I just want to make sure that when any grant application is written, that we are mindful of all the pieces of the puzzle, including traffic management on these roads also.
We will be including traffic calming measures through there, additional signage, and the pavement markings that'll go through there. Both of those roads have been an ongoing problem for us. We were ready to go for paving last year, the RFP that went out, and then COVID hit and everything got frozen. So here we are going to be dealing with it again, and hopefully we can get this forward. And that's what is on the second application for Waterman Hill. And it connects two state major thoroughfares, 102 and Route 14. We're chasing all the potholes on that road on a weekly basis. So we understand the pain from District 1, and we're working to try to get it done. But without the funding, without the budget, it's difficult. All we can do is keep putting Band-Aids on until we finally are able to fund it.
Well, I understand the need to redo those roads and to resurface those roads. And I just wanted to make sure that whenever we write grants, that we are considering traffic management also on these roads, because once we have good solid roads there and no potholes to avoid, people will tend to speed down those roads, and that will cause another problem too. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'll talk to Chief Heiss on that also.
I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a motion to approve an application for grants for road projects, specifically on Johnson's Boulevard and Waterman Hill Road and Hall Road. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Any other discussion? Okay, raise your hand if you approve applying for the grants for road projects. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, ladies and
The
gentlemen.
motion passes. Thank you. Good luck, Kevin. All right, we are now on agenda item D3. Reference pages 41 to 81. Madam Clerk, please read the agenda item.
Coventry Public School approval of vehicle lease agreement.
Mr. Wazika, would you like to speak on this request?
I will begin, and Mr. Levis is here as well on this. This is just a standard formality on any time the school department is going to engage in a lease. The town council has to authorize them to do it. They're going to be funding this out of their budget, and it's going to be a lease to replace. My understanding is all of their current vehicles that are ancient, decrepit, and falling apart beyond and at the end of their useful life. Craig, if you'd like to speak on this a little bit more.
I just, I think you have the document. And this was submitted a while ago, so we need to go back to the finance company. We need to go back and look at these vehicles, because this was put together in December of 2020, with the previous finance director on the town side and our finance, consulting finance director now, Ms. Mandrelli. So before we can do anything else, we need your authorization. The school committee voted on this when we submitted our FY21 budget. We shared that with you, the COVID budget. So we really need your authorization so we can go back to the finance company, update the numbers, see if these vehicles are still available. But I shared with you the pictures. You've seen the condition of our vehicles. So this is for 2 F-350s and 3 Ford Transits. And these are not new vehicles. They'll be new to us. Or actually, I'm sorry, they are, but they were old models. So I don't know if these models will still be available. This was done in December, but we desperately need the vehicles. And again, this was approved by the school committee. So once we update the numbers, we can share them with you again. But before we can go back to the finance committee, and you see highlighted the things that we need to do
Yes.
to get this approved. that's pretty much it. As Mr. Wazika said, it's a formality, but if you have any questions I can answer, I definitely will.
Mr. Wazika, why does the town have to approve this lease agreement for the school? Is it a state law? I'm not sure why it has to come to us.
Mr. D'Agostino, can you explain that one to the chair?
Yes, it's a requirement under our charter for reviewing contracts that have a financial component. It's like how you review and approve the collective bargaining agreements as well.
So it's contracts for either the municipal side or the school side. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. Any questions, Ms. Shockley?
I guess I'm just confused about what we're voting yes to, because if it's just yes, they can move forward with lease agreements for money that's already budgeted for this year. That's, you know, in many cases might be a yes, but there are no numbers involved in any of these documents. Unless I'm looking at something incorrectly.
Yeah, there should be
So
a
I'm not really,
document the document that we have, the finance application was for $156,000 over 5 years. It was about $34,614.20. So I don't know.
does anyone have that in their packet that I'm,
Craig, that was not shared with us by Ms. Mangarelli.
everything's a sample with no real information.
That's what we
Because,
received from.
well, because this was a draft, I mean, obviously, because this was not approved, because this was in December. So that's what I'm working off of just for the vehicle numbers. The sample template is because before we can get the actual numbers, we need authorization from you. The finance company won't give us moving forward. We need to go back to them with some documentation. So we will get those numbers. But this is what I had in December. That's why this is not accurate right now. We can't get the update till we get your authorization to go back. And I believe that's what Ms. Mandrelli had said in her email with the documentation, so.
Like I said, I just am not sure what exactly we're approving. If it's just that that you can engage in a lease purchase.
Yeah, I think the issue here is that we're 3 months, you know, I had talked to Dr.
Yeah.
Dixon and Mr. Wazika. We're 3 months from when we wanted to do this. So I guess I would ask you, I think the way your resolution is written is it's allowing us to go and engage the finance company anyway. So we can come back with the numbers, but you know, I'd like to get this accomplished before FY21 ends, if possible, so.
The resolution reads, the school department is authorized to engage in a capital lease purchase and annual lease payments for various vehicles as outlined in the attached documents. That's what that would be the motion that we would have to approve or not. Mr. LeBlanc.
Just a clarifying question. So once the school goes out and kind of finalizes the numbers, do they have to then come back for our final approval? Or are they allowed, based off of this resolution, to sign the lease for essentially what appears to be a blank check, because we don't have dollar amounts in this resolution? Do they have to come back to us for the final approval? I just need to know that answer.
Mr. D'Agostino.
Yes, Mr. Council President and Councilor LeBlanc, I think given what Superintendent Levis has indicated this evening, and to the councilor's points that these are basically form documents, I think the council is authorizing the school department to move forward. And what I would do is I would include in the motion the resolution. I think is fine, but I would also include in the motion to approve the resolution a notation that the school department will provide the actual numbers, the actual financial numbers at such time as they have identified those specifics to come back to the council for ratification.
So would we just amend the resolution, Mr. D'Agostino, and add that statement that you've just indicated? You said the school department will provide the actual numbers to the council for ratification?
Yes, that's
Okay.
sufficient.
That's sufficient, okay. Would any member of the council like to add an amendment to the resolution which appears on page 82 of 189? Ms. Shockley?
I would like to add the amendment that the school department will identify dollar amounts and will come back to the council for ratification.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any more discussion on the amendment? All right, we'll
I
go.
just have one comment, President Dixon.
Ms. Ludwig?
So Superintendent Levis, I remember our conversation on this from a couple months ago, and I believe the comment that was used, I think it was former council member Cody, who said that sometimes he hears some of the vehicles referred to in this lot as a junkyard. And so I certainly don't want to live in a community where these vehicles are rotting through the floorboards, 20-plus-year-old vehicles with rust all over them, rear-ended. I don't think we had the pictures last time. I don't know if you can see this on my green screen, but I don't know if we had these pictures last time. I'm looking at them now, and it's shocking to see this. So, thank you for sending those out. I don't know if I just missed it last time, but thank you for proceeding with this. I definitely will be approving our need to go out and find, appropriate vehicles. Thank you.
Mrs. Shockley?
If I may, I do think it is something you can link to in the agenda if you look at it online for members of the public. And I would recommend just taking a look at these vehicles that the school is looking to replace.
Okay. Mrs. Shockley has offered an amendment to amend the school. It should be the school department will provide actual numbers to the council for ratification. Do I have a second to the amendment?
I second that already.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Any additional discussion? Okay, we're ready for the vote on the amendment. So this is to approve the amendment to the resolution. Please raise your hand if you approve the amendment. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Now I'll read the resolution as it now reads. Resolved by the Town Council of the Town of Coventry, the Coventry School Department is authorized to engage in a capital lease purchase and annual lease payments for various vehicles as outlined in the attached documents. The school department will provide actual numbers to the council for ratification. Do I have a motion to approve that resolution as amended?
I'll make a motion to.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Do I have a second?
I'll second the amendment,
Thank
or
you,
the
Ms.
motion for the
Ludwig.
amendment.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Okay, any other discussion? All right, ready for the vote for the amended resolution. Mr. LeBlanc, you have a question?
Oh, sorry. I was voting yes.
Oh, excellent, thank you. Please raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you support the amended resolution. Okay, 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you. Excellent. All right, we're moving on to agenda D4, resolution to approve the town manager contract, reference page 83. Mr. D'Agostino, I believe that you wanted to make a comment before we
Yes.
begin.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So just for everyone's edification, both here on the call and listening in the public, as Council President Dixon explained when they reconvened out of the executive session, a contract for a new town manager was discussed in executive session, and a final draft document has been prepared. It has been shared with the prospective candidate, and the candidate has agreed to the terms of that document. Once the document is voted on by the council, that document will then be signed by both parties, and the document then becomes a public document available for the public. The document that was reviewed in draft has been changed to reflect one minor change, and I'd like to just explain what that is. That change proposes a start date of the new town manager of April 5th, and the salary of $150,000, instead of being paid monthly, will be paid weekly, consistent with the town's usual payroll practices. So that date, effective date, April 5th start date, and weekly payment of salary will be amended in the document, and that'll be submitted to the new town manager for his signature, and then the council has it for their approval this evening. And as I said, that will be a public document once we've obtained original wet signatures. Thank you, Ms. Council President.
Thank you so much, Mr. D'Agostino. Do I have a motion to approve the town manager contract for Mr. Benjamin Marchant?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Do I have a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Any discussion? I'm going to do a roll call vote for this one. This is important for us. Madam Clerk.
Amy LeBlanc,
Yes.
Kimberly Shockley,
Yes.
Jennifer Ludwig,
Yes.
Ann Dixon.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're all
You
breathing.
don't get to vote, Ed.
Okay, you voted for me.
I just want to mention that when I first started with the council, one of my first tasks to work on with the former council was to review resumes for a town manager. That was in November 2018. The process of finding a town manager started after Mr. Waters resigned April 13th, 2018, after serving with us for a little less than 2 years. Mr. Wazika was appointed interim town manager for what started as a 6-month assignment. He has performed beyond our expectations and has not only handled the operations of the town, but has advanced us in many areas that needed improvement. So thank you, Mr. Wazika. We will talk about you again and again much later. Thank you. As a council, we worked with Mr. Bernard Lynch, Community Paradigm Consultants of Plymouth, Massachusetts. I want the town people to know that we read through many resumes, we interviewed many people, and we look for the right fit for our town. We have hired a professional manager who will start April 5th, 2021. So congratulations, Mr. Marchant. Thank you to all the members of the council for all the work that you did to advance us to this particular point in our community's history. And thank you, Mr. Wazika, for all you have done. I have to clap Mr. Wazika and Mr. Marchant. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. We're now on agenda item D6. Madam Clerk, please read the item.
Resolution that the town of Coventry shall authorize a transfer of funds to the school department not to exceed $947,000.
Excuse me,
No, no,
excuse me.
no.
This has been eliminated. We eliminated
Oh, I'm
this.
sorry.
We're not able to vote on this evening. So please read agenda item number 6.
Discuss and/or action supporting the following resolutions. Charlestown Civics Literacy Act H, House Bill 5028, Boroughville opposition to tax sale legislation, House 5269, Boroughville opposition to Rhode Island gun control legislation, Portsmouth climate bill, Senate 0078 and House 5445, Portsmouth miniature alcohol beverage container deposit recycling, House Bill 5113.
Thank you. From time to time, the town clerk receives resolutions that come from other municipalities in which the municipality is asking for our support as a town for legislation. The 5 items on the agenda recently were received. We will take each item and I will entertain a motion, a second, and a discussion for each of the resolutions. The resolutions as presented cannot be changed. We are voting for the resolution as it is written. If approved, our town clerk will put the resolution on our letterhead and send it to the appropriate legislator or legislators. If the resolution is not approved, no further action will be taken. If in the future a council wishes to present and discuss a resolution, it will be put on the agenda. So we'll take the first one, and that is from Charleston, the Civics Literacy Act, House Bill 5028. It is referenced on page 85 of your packet.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
I'll sec-
I have a motion from Ms. Ludwig, a second from Mr. LeBlanc. Any discussion? Please raise your hand if you are in support of this resolution.
President Dixon, I do have some commentary.
Okay, please do.
So for this particular item, this is not just the town of Charleston that had proposed this resolution. I did want to highlight that Central Falls had also sent us a resolution that I believe, I quickly looked at it, it was basically the same resolution in early February or mid-February, I guess. So this is not the only town that has sent us a resolution for House Bill 5028. It's my understanding that this is a bipartisan bill, and it has been recommended for further study. So it has been heard, and I think it's kind of on hold right now. However, there's multiple groups looking at it. So I would be in favor of helping pass this message along. I don't think we're unique in this. This feels like something that probably should be happening at a national level, not just a town level. And then I would be interested if we could also, once we vote on this, if we could also pass this over to Kathy Patnada, the chair of the school committee, to see if they would consider this also, considering there is obviously an education element here. I don't know if that means that we want to vote on this just ourselves, or if we'd like to do that tonight and then also see if they'd like to do that together. But I think because of the education element here, that they should at least, if we could forward something to them, if we end up passing, that would be helpful for them.
The agenda item is for us to approve of this. If we do not have an agenda item to pass it on to it, but it would be.
Afterwards would be fine, not tonight.
Fine. The resolution simply asks for an amendment to the original bill, and the amendment is to provide, I believe, public input to the curriculum. So that's what we're approving in that particular resolution. All right, we have a motion, we have a second. We've had discussion. Any other discussion? All right, please raise your hand if you support this resolution. Okay, 4 yeas, no nays. The second resolution is sent to us by Burrable. It's in opposition to the sales tax legislation, House 5269, page 86 to 87. Mr. D'Agostino, I believe that this was on our legislators' meeting agenda, and you had spoken to me about this. Would you like to speak to this, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. So this is basically a bill. This bill, if it passes, would prevent the town from going to tax sale on properties that owed sewer district assessments. And that's the main reason why, in speaking with the tax collector, she supported the opposition to this bill. This bill does have a little bit of a wider application, because it would also prevent fire districts and water districts from also going to tax sale on properties that had significant outstanding taxes. And this is a bill that certainly would hamstring the town's ability to use the existing legal enforcement mechanisms under state law to try to seek collection of outstanding, in this particular case, sewer assessments. So it's for that reason why the tax collector would be asking for your support in opposition to this legislation. Thank you.
Is there any discussion by other members of the council? Okay. I'd like to have a motion. This is to support the resolution from Burrillville, which is in opposition to the sales tax legislation, House 5269. Reference page 86 to 87. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Any discussion?
Just for clarification here. So if we vote to approve this resolution, what it's saying is that if we approve it, we're saying that regardless of the sewer assessment amount, regardless of if they wanted it or not, and they were taxed, we are still going to allow that property to go to tax sale. Just want clarification.
Yes, your vote this evening is to support the opposition to this proposed amendment to the general laws.
Support the opposition, and the opposition saying that we don't want this bill passed because we still want the right to do a tax sale on sewer assessments, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank
Can I just
Mrs.
clarify?
Shockley,
But it's not specific to sewer assessments only. It would make it so we couldn't do a tax sale in other instances as well, correct?
Well, the proposed legislation would apply to sewer assessments, fire districts, water districts, and that type of thing. Because Coventry doesn't have a water district and doesn't have a fire district as a municipal operation, the only application here to the town would be as to the sewer program and the sewer assessments.
All
right.
Excuse me, Mr. D'Agostino, wouldn't it also cover fire districts also?
I'm sorry, yes, if this proposed amendment does not go through the General Assembly, then it would give the fire districts in the town also the right to go to tax sale, as they typically do when they have overdue fire taxes.
Okay. All right, it's a little tricky to understand, but I think we finally got it. Thanks to Mr. D'Agostino helping us out. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. So if you are in support of an opposition to the tax sale legislation, then you should raise your hand now. Okay, thank you. Opposed? 3 yeas, 1 nay. The motion passes. The next resolution is from Burrillville, opposition to gun control legislation, reference pages 88 to 90. This resolution lists many gun control legislation items that are before the assembly, and it opposes all gun control legislation that is before the assembly. Do I have a motion to approve? the
No,
resolution?
President Dixon, may I make a comment first?
Yes,
The town of Coventry, in June 2019, the town council unanimously approved us as a Second Amendment sanctuary town. And so we've kind of already gone through this. So to put ourselves against a resolution that lists all these different bills in it, as opposed to the previous two that we've just voted on that are very specific to one bill, it feels like we would need much further discussion on each of these items. So I'm happy to do a vote tonight. You can probably tell my vote's going to be to say no, because there's so many bills listed in here. But we already have declared ourselves Second Amendment sanctuary. And in my mind, that kind of covers what this is doing itself. And we've already put that out for ourselves. So I wouldn't be clear on what we would be voting to do it on this particular motion, because it's not in support or against one specific bill. It's a plethora of items.
it is. I don't recall us voting to be a sanctuary city. Do you recall, Mr. Wazika,
You did.
Yep.
for
We
that particular one? Okay.
Yes. these bills here are all basically the gun control bills that go against the Second Amendment. So that's why Borough Bill is opposing them, because they all basically go against the Second Amendment.
So it's in opposition to any gun control legislation that is before the
Gun
assembly.
control legislation, other than what's already on the books, correct?
Okay, do we have a motion for this resolution? Okay, if we have no motion, then this fails. Okay, fourth resolution, climate bill, Senate 78 and House 5445, reference page 91. Mr. LeBlanc,
I've read up on this bill. Rep. Morgan is, she's actually being very vocal, and she's saying that this is going to cost taxpayers anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 to retrofit their house to, if they have oil, to get out any system that uses oil out of their house. If that is factual, I don't know if Mr. Rozika can confirm or Mr. DiAgostino, but if that's factual, there is no way that I could support this.
I also received 2 calls today from residents who are very concerned about what mandates might come down that would impact a residential homeowner. So this includes plans that the governor's office would develop, and also certain mandates that would put some burdens on individual homeowners. So the climate bill includes, really, it's an amendment to an original bill, and it does have some strict mandates that might be very onerous on homeowners. So what we could do is to, if you wish to oppose this particular resolution that is from Portsmouth.
Well, so just from my understanding here, wouldn't we see if there's a motion to support this? And if we're not going to support it, then we would need to come back with our own resolution in opposition to this.
We could if the council so desires. So we could, we should have a motion to approve the resolution as it stands, and then it will either pass or fail. And then at some later time, any member of the council could submit an agenda item relating to climate if they wish. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve this resolution? Okay. No action. The 5th resolution is from Portsmouth Mini Alcohol Deposit Recycling. It's asking for the support. Reference page 92.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
I'll
second it.
second it. So Jamie can second it.
Ms. Ludwig made the motion. Mr. LeBlanc seconded it. Okay, any discussion? Ms. Ludwig?
Thank you, President Dixon. So actually, Portsmouth is not the only resolution that we saw in the last few months come out on this. We did also see the town of Charleston in early February send out a resolution in support of this. I have had residents in my district who have said that the litter problem on the sides of our streets has just been continuing to grow. So I don't know if this will end up getting passed, but it is a small measure that we possibly could take to help incentivize people to return these NIPS containers to the proper location as opposed to throwing them out of their car windows. So I am in support of the resolution. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Mrs. Shockley?
I will say, I like the fact that other states have already determined that this is cutting down on litter. And I agree, it is a surprisingly large problem. Small alcohol containers, any neighborhood you walk around, you're seeing them littering the side of the road. So if there's anything we can do to incentivize people to possibly not throw them on the side of the road, I'm more than willing to stand behind that. It's a small, like Ms. Ludwig said, it might be a small step, but I think just putting it top of mind even through this motion is important.
Okay, any other, Mr. Wazika?
even if the consumer decides to throw them out the window, there will always be
Someone might
people
pick them
willing to pick them up at the additional, because of the deposit on them. So one way or another, the situation will get rectified.
Very good point.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the fifth resolution from Portsmouth, the mini alcohol deposit recycling, H 5113, asking for the support of this, reference page 92. Please raise your hand if you are in support of this resolution. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Madam Clerk, please read item E2.
Coventry Sewer Subcommittee recommendation for approval of sewer tie-ins located at 851 Tyoke Avenue, Plat 29, Lot 32, sewer tie-in requested by Drake Petroleum Company Incorporated. B is 124 A and B, Sandy Bottom Road, Plat 38, Lot 128, sewer tie-in requested by Robert E. McGowan. C is 182-188 Arnold Road and 38-40 Dixie Road, Plat 22, Lot 43.2, and 38 Dixie Road, Plat 22, Lot 43.1, sewer tie-in requested by TNC Properties LLC.
Thank you. We'll start with the one at 851 Tyoke Avenue. The resolution appears on page 101. Do I have a motion for that sewer tie-in at 851 Tyoke Avenue?
So I'll make the motion. I do want to mention that I think we'll have some comment before we take the vote, President Dixon.
Certainly. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Okay, we're now open for discussion for the tie-in on 851 Tyoke Avenue. Members of the council, questions? Okay, I do have a question, and it's a question that applies to all three. For each of the memorandum that we have received, in this particular case from the Office of Town Engineer, there are certain, it's recommended approval with the following conditions. The resolution, however, does not mention that we are approving this tie-in, assuming that all of the conditions are met. So I'm wondering how we can handle this, Mr. D'Agostino, because each of these recommendations comes to us with conditions that must be met. The resolution does not indicate that the conditions must be met.
So what you would do is you'd simply amend the resolution to incorporate the conditions provided with the application. I think that's it's a very simple change. And in reading through, and I'm looking at the resolution that appears on page 101 of the packet, where it says, therefore be it resolved, the Coventry Town Council approves the recommended sewer tie-in application for, and then it lists the Drake Petroleum Company, for example, incorporated for 851 Tyoke Avenue, identifying the assessor's plat and lot. I would simply add to that per the conditions of the town engineer.
Okay.
And that can be added to the resolution.
Thank you. I had that in my notes, but I wanted to make sure that we were doing it just right. Okay.
Yes,
So,
I think if I may, I think just for everyone's edification, because the council's approval is a procedural step, it's a necessary procedural step. I don't think that the town engineer would allow a property to actually start discharging into the system without all of those conditions that are listed in the letter, his letter or memo having been met. So I think prophylactically calling it out and calling attention to the fact that there are conditions that must be met as part of the resolution is perfectly acceptable.
Thank you. Because, for example, in item number 7, in the engineer's report, which is on page 100, it just says, a new commercial tenant must apply for a new sewer, commercial and industrial permit from Coventry and West Warren prior to operation. It wouldn't necessarily be covered because this is something that could happen in the future. That's why I was concerned about us adding this amendment that I'm going to offer, that's saying, after the last, be it resolved on page 101, the council approves the recommended sewer tie-in application pending the completion of all conditions stipulated in the recommendation to the letter be met. Is that acceptable?
Yes, that's acceptable.
Okay. I'd like a motion on the amendment to the resolution that appears on page 101.
Can I ask a question first, just
Yes.
for my own knowledge? Crossman Engineering, what is that entity?
That is-
So,
That is the company that Bruce Hagerman, our engineer, works for. We have subcontracted out our engineering services to Crossman Engineering. That was done a number of years ago, and we continue with that contract. The upside of that over having our own, when Mr. Joyle left employment with the town, we now have the ability to have engineering expertise in a number of areas and not just simply in one or two. But he is an employee of Crossman Engineering, which is in no way affiliated with our planner. That business was sold years ago and has nothing to do with Russ Crossman.
okay, I just wanted to confirm that, just seeing
no.
that name on there, it
No, it has
raised
No.
the flag.
separate entity. Yep, I hear you. I understand.
Okay, thank you for that, I appreciate it.
Okay, there is amendment,
President
Actually-
Dixon, I have a question.
certainly.
Don't mind. I think this is probably for Mr. Wazika. I didn't know if it would be possible when we have sewer tie-ins on the agendas to list the sewer assessment that properties have been assessed, so that we know that they've been assessed. So I don't know if you have handy 851 Tioga Ave's sewer assessment, 124 Sandy Bottom Roads assessment, because I don't know if it's been paid. I don't know if it's in arrears. If it's in arrears, I don't know if we should be approving a sewer tie-in for it. And then I didn't know if we had a standard operating procedure prior to us, the town council, approving sewer tie-ins, if they need to be assessed first, and what that procedure is. Should it be discussed at sewer subcommittee? Sorry, I had a bunch of questions for you.
In the past, I mean, this is just simply a administrative approval on that, on what the sewer subcommittee has already approved. As far as putting the assessments down, we can, in the future, moving forward, Mr. Marchant, I will relay to him to make sure that he adds that into the packet, so everybody will know what those assessments are on each of those properties. So that can be done in the future.
President Dixon,
Yes,
can
go
I
ahead.
also add an additional item? So in addition to Councilman LeBlanc's request, I'd also like to know, before approving these going forward, what the capacity is. So I'd like to see what the capacity that they're suggesting they're going to be using versus our remaining capacity is. You're looking at me with strange eyes.
I mean, some of the commercial ones, I don't know how they would, but we can pass that on and see what we can do to make sure on capacity level. And I'm assuming you're talking about the line capacity that they're feeding into.
Yes, yeah. Yes, so for example, in previous sessions that I've been on the sewer subcommittee on, when I've asked questions such as, how do we keep track of capacity? How do we know that this line even has capacity left in it? That is not something that I've been able to get a sufficient answer on. So if Mr. LeBlanc is amenable to this, maybe we can add this to our discussion to Saturday's subcommittee, sewer review, to talk about, putting some items together that we'd like to talk about, in a future session and address what we'd like to see on the approvals going forward.
Absolutely. And
Well,
going back to my question, Mr. Wazika, should we be discussing sewer assessments at the sewer subcommittee level? Because when I started asking questions, I was told that that's not the appropriate arena for those type of questions. So I just didn't know when we should be discussing sewer assessments.
Yeah, so I'm not sure this is within our agenda item.
It's about sewer tie-ins. So, I mean,
It's
sewer
about
tie-ins come with sewer
tie-in.
assessments.
But there was a request for sewer assessment amounts. So Mr. D'Agostino, is it appropriate for us to pursue this line of inquiry right now?
I don't think so, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having sewer assessments be added to the agendas as Councilor LeBlanc has requested. And I would like to just say that the sewer subcommittee operation is very technical. It's focused on the technical engineering aspects of connectivity. When it comes to sewer assessments, and also obviously confirming the tie-in approvals from the sewer subcommittee, that is the purview of the town council.
Okay, any other discussion points? All right, I'm going to just repeat the amendment. We've had a motion and a second. It just means on the resolution, page 101, after the sentence Drake Petroleum Company, it will say pending completion of all conditions stipulated in the recommendation to the town council by Mr. Hageman, town engineering consultant. Any other discussion? Okay, first we're going to vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment as stated, please raise your hand. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Now we will have the resolution. The resolution now reads, whereas after examining the application's design plans and all other submitted documentation, the Coventry Sewer Subcommittee has recommended approval for the sewer tie-in at 851 Tioga Avenue, Plate 29, Lot 52. Whereas the application's design plans and other documentations comply with all federal, state, Coventry rules, regulations, and ordinances. Therefore, be it resolved, the Coventry Town Council approves the recommended sewer tie-in application for Drake Petroleum Company Incorporated, 851 Tioga Avenue, Assessors Plat 29, Lot 32, pending completion of all conditions stipulated in the recommendation letter to the Town Council by Mr. Hageman, Town Engineering Consultant. Please raise your hand if you approve the amended resolution. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. We will now take up the application for 124 Sandy Bottom Lane, reference page 122. All right, do I have a motion to approve this tie-in on page, the resolution on page 122?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Do I have a second?
I'll
Mrs.
second it.
Shockley? Okay, discussion? I have the same discussion point that I had before. On the recommendation letter, there are several items and conditions. Number 6 says a new commercial tenant must apply for a new sewer commercial and industrial permit from Coventry and West Warwick prior to operation. I would like to amend this motion to read, after the sentence on the resolution, page 122, Robert McGowan for 124 Sandy Bottom Lane, I would like to say, pending the completion of all conditions stipulated in the recommendation letter. Page 120 and 121. Do I have a second to that motion or the amendment?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, we're going to vote on the amendment, and the amendment is adding on page 122, after the line Robert E. McGovern, 124 Sandy Bottom Road, pending the completion of all conditions stimulated in the recommendation letter that the town council received from Mr. Bruce Hageman, town engineering consultant. Any questions? More discussion, additional discussion? Please raise your hand if you approve the amendment. 4 yeas, no nays. Are we ready to vote on the resolution as amended? All right, we need a motion on the resolution as amended.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley.
I'll second the
Second.
amendment.
Ms. Ludwig? Any discussion? Okay, so the motion is to approve the resolution that appears on 122 as amended. And I won't read the whole thing because I think I've read it enough times. So it's to approve the resolution as amended on page 122. Please raise your hand if you approve the resolution as amended. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you. We now on the resolution for 182 to 188 Arnold Road. Resolution page 134. Oh, I'm sorry, and also 38 to 40 Dixie Road, page 134 reference. Do I have a motion on this resolution? Mr. LeBlanc?
I just have a comment on this particular one. I actually reached out to the town manager about 188 Arnold Road, 38 Dixie Road, and 40 Dixie Road. And those 3 properties actually currently do not have a sewer assessment, which is why I had asked for sewer assessments to be placed on the town agendas going forward. I'm not really sure how we can approve a tie-in without knowing how much they're going to get assessed. And that's why I believe it's germane to this discussion.
Right. Mr. D'Agostino, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. I think that I can tell Councilor LeBlanc, I had a discussion earlier today with the tax collector Monique Houle concerning the assessment, the sewer assessment on these properties. Because I don't think it's appropriate to include that information with this tie-in because of the wording of the agenda, might I suggest that this particular tie-in be continued to the next meeting and we can provide you those sewer assessment answers. I can tell you there is an answer. Don't have it in front of me. I discussed it this afternoon with the tax collector. And so we can satisfy your questions. But I think that in order to do so appropriately under the agenda and the Open Meetings Act, we should table this particular item right for this evening and put it on a future agenda so we can provide better notice to discuss the actual sewer assessments. But I can assure you there is an answer to your question.
I actually had Monique on in the event that she would be able to discuss this, and Monique, sorry. But yeah, if we have to table this and put it to the next one.
I think I would, Mr. Town Manager, because again, it could lead into a more robust discussion about assessments.
No, I don't want to get into that and risk a violation.
Okay, may I
Oh,
have,
thank you. Sorry, you can leave.
Ms. Houle, you've been with us the whole evening. Thank you so much, but it was an interesting meeting. I hope you agree with us. Mrs. Shockley?
These are requests from the property owners, right? To get a sewer assessment. Or to
Please?
get a tie-in.
To do the tie-in. Yeah.
To do the tie-in.
Yes.
Can I ask, do they know what their sewer assessment is?
Again, I'm not going to, I don't want to go and risk violating anything by going into this.
Okay. Should we
Sorry.
table the other 2? I mean, we're we're saying yes to two, not having this information.
No, this
But
one's,
we're not gonna say,
this one's a little different from the other ones.
okay,
Substantially different because of the whole thing on what's going on it. So
Yeah.
it's not the same situation as the other ones. The other ones are known on what those assessments actually are. And
okay.
Okay, I would like a motion to postpone the resolution for the tie-ins for 182 to 188 Arnold Road and 38 and 40 Dixie Road, plat 22, lots 43.1 and 43.2, to postpone until our next regular meeting on April 12th. Do I have a motion to approve that postponement?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Any discussion? Okay, hand vote. All those who are in favor of postponing to April 12th, the resolution relating to those tie-ins. Motion is approved, 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, please read us agenda item number E3.
Recommendation by the town council to the interim town manager for appointments to the following boards and commissions: Economic Development Commission, Conservation Commission.
Okay, do I have a motion to recommend to the town manager candidate Andy Cohen for EDC?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig.
I'll
Do I
second
have
it.
a second? Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Any discussion? All those in favor of recommending to the town manager the appointment of Andy Cohen to the Economic Development Commission, please raise your hand. 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Cohen. Do I have a motion to recommend Mr. Matthew Towle to the Conservation, to recommend to the town manager for appointment to the Conservation Commission? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. Congratulations, Mr. Towle, Matthew Towle. Thank you. Next, Madam Clerk, E4, please read the agenda item. This is reference page 152, excuse me. Go ahead.
Appointment of members to the following boards and commissions: Board of Canvassers, alternates, Zoning Board of Review.
Okay, we'll take the motion for the alternates for the Board of Canvassers. The motion is to appoint as alternates Mr. Inman and Mr. Glover. Do I have a motion to approve those two candidates?
I'll make a motion to approve the candidates.
Thank you. Ms. Ludwig, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Any discussion? Please raise your hand if we approve the appointment of Mr. Inman and Mr. Glover for alternates for Board of Canvassers. Thank you. Ms. Shockley, I don't see your hand. That's
Sorry.
okay. That's okay. You have a right to keep it down. I just want to make sure we count you all.
No, it was up.
Apologize. Okay. Madam Clerk, please read the agenda item for Zoning Board of Review, page 153.
And authorizing the interim town manager to award, bid, and execute a contract for cemetery.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. E4 is the Zoning Board of Review.
Resolution.
Yes.
Resolution of the Town of Coventry, State of Rhode Island, appointing one full member to the Coventry Zoning Board of Review. Whereas the town charter, section 13.21 of the town of Coventry requires that there be a zoning board of review consisting of 5 members serving 5 years staggered terms of office and 2 alternate members serving for 1 full year term of office. Now therefore it be resolved that the town council of the town of Coventry appoints Edward Iannotti as replacing Virginia Susi as the member with a term of office expiring May 31st, 2023.
Okay, I'd just like to mention that Mr. Iannotti has been an alternate on the zoning board of review. With the resignation of Mrs. Susi, we now move our alternate up to replace a person who has resigned or through a vacancy, and he is now moved up to a full-time position if you approve this vote. Do I have a motion to appoint Mr. Iannotti?
I'll make a
Make a motion.
motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Any discussion? Okay, please raise your hand if you approve Mr. Iannotti being moved from alternate to full term. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays. I just want to mention that Mr. Iannotti is replacing Mrs. Virginia Susi. We will talk more about Mrs. Susi at another meeting, but she has given many decades of service to our community. She was appointed at least as early as 1982. She was on the Charter Review Commission also in 1992. In 1992, she ran for town council, served 2 two-year periods. In 1999, she was on the Growth Management Committee. Maybe that was the precursor for the Economic Development Commission, I don't know. She returned to the Zoning Board of Review about 1996, and she just resigned in 2021. That's at least 39 years of public service in Coventry. We'll appropriately recognize Mrs. Susi at a future meeting. Madam Clerk, please read item number E5, the cemetery grounds, reference pages 155 to 171.
Resolution authorizing the interim town manager to award, bid, and execute a contract for cemetery grounds maintenance to Global Maintenance LLC, PO Box 7421, Cumberland, Rhode Island 02864.
Thank you. Mr. Wazika, would you like to speak on this resolution, please?
I will start on it. We had issued an RFP for the cemetery cleanup services. That RFP came back in this week. There were two bidders on it. And from that point, I will let Mr. McGee explain what transpired in that RFP returns. Kevin?
Thank you, Mr. Warzika. We had a 3-year contract with a firm that was not performing, and we ended the services of that company and terminated his contract. We went out to RFP on March 17th, had 2 bidders that came in with numbers. The company that we terminated was one of the bidders, surprisingly enough. So our recommendation, the low bidder, was this company, Global Maintenance Company. They are actually located in Cumberland, but they have a summer home on Raymond's Point. So the principal is a Coventry taxpayer. So he knows the town, and which is a benefit. And I met with him this morning and his staff. It seems that they are more than able to be able to handle this. They are currently doing contracts for the government from the naval base all the way to Bourne's Naval Base and some of the federal buildings. I checked the references and they all had glowing reviews. It's my recommendation to the town manager to award it to this company, and it's within the budget for the unfunded for this year, and that amount is in the budget for next year.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Mr. Wazika, would you please explain, because we have many members of the council who may not be familiar with perpetual cemetery care, what that means?
Real simple, that we have to maintain the conditions at the cemetery grounds. And there were contracts that were written with families of the deceased for us to maintain those areas, and we are obligated to, and that's what we're doing.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the resolution that is on page 155, E5?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Any discussion? Yes, Mrs. Shockley.
Is there any issue that there are only 2 respondents to the RFP and one of them was the former contract that we terminated? Once you RFP, do we need to have a certain number of responses or at least make a second attempt?
No, there's no limit on it.
It's too late in the season right now. They're going to be starting in April. We are currently went out to bid. We advertised it on the state website and we advertised it in a local paper. There are instances where we only get one bidder on a contract that goes out. And if it was done, we opened the bids here at the town under the YouTube channel. So it was done according to the new process and they meet the qualifications of the RFP.
Thank you.
Mr. LeBlanc,
Thank you, President Dixon. Just a quick question. How much was the 2020 season? How much did that cost us, Mr. McGee?
That season cost us $47,000. This was going to cost us approximately $49,000 for this season. This company had flat rates for the 3-year period. The other bidder had increasing amounts from $31,000 to $32,000 and a higher fall cleanup rates. So we're going to save it over the life of the contract, approximately $12,000.
Okay, no, great. I actually like that it was a fixed fee for 3 years.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
we have a motion, we have a second. Please raise your hand if you are in favor of awarding this contract for cemetery grounds maintenance contract to Global Maintenance LLC of Cumberland, Rhode Island. Please raise your hand. Thank you. 4 yeas, no nays.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Director McGee. You've had a long, busy night with us, haven't you?
I have, I like being at the bottom of the agenda.
We'll try to, well, we did something for Miss Martini. Maybe we can do something for you too. Would you like that?
I'm not quite as good looking as her, so thank you.
Well, I don't want to even talk about that, Mr.
Bye, Kevin.
Bye-bye, Kevin. Good
Bye,
night.
Kevin.
Have a good evening. Madam Clerk, please, let's see. F1, item F1, the agenda item is on page 172 to 174 to 181. The purpose of this agenda item is to approve a contract with Mr. Wazika to continue his work as interim town manager until such time as the town manager was appointed. Oh, I'm sorry. The council already approved a contract for Mr. Wazika to continue his work as interim town manager until such time as the town manager was appointed. At that time, Mr. Wazika could transition to administrative office. The council approved the contract, but we did not establish the position of administrative officer. So the first reading of the ordinance establishes the position. We will have a second reading and a hearing March 12th at our regular meeting. So this is just a first reading of the establishment of the position of administrative officer. Are there any outstanding questions that members of the council would like to ask this evening? Mr. LeBlanc.
I just have a suggestion. In the last whereas before now, therefore be it hereby ordained. We say the word office, but I think we need to not say the word office and use the word position. Because if you look at the paragraph for now, therefore be it hereby ordained, we say creates the position of administrative officer. But in the last whereas paragraph, we say to establish the office of administrative officer. And then we say further down, necessary to create this office. I think it should be position, just a suggestion.
That is more than a suggestion, it's something we need to correct. So thank you for finding that for us, Mr. LeBlanc. We will so change that. In the second reading, it will be changed. Any other changes that are needed in this particular ordinance as it is written? As I said, this is the first reading. I'm glad we were able to correct it at this reading. All right, the second reading will occur after it's properly advertised, April 12th at our next regular meeting. Mr. Wazika, you can still begin even though you don't have an official position.
I can take a month and a half out, Mrs.
You could, but
Madam Chair.
I don't think I would sign your timesheet for that yet.
I have plenty of vacation time.
You know, okay, agenda G1, it's a public hearing. Reference pages 182 to 189. I have a motion to open public hearing.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Mr. Wazika, do we have anyone who wishes to speak on this ordinance amendment?
I have one hand up, but the hand has been a while. I don't know if it's for this. I'm going to allow him to talk and we will find out if it's pertaining to this.
Excellent.
Mr. Hudson, please state your full name, spell your last name and your address, and then please let us know if you're here to speak on this, this ordinance. Mr. Hudson? Mr. Hudson?
He hasn't unmuted himself.
Nope, I know.
Mr. Wazika, Attorney Cronin for the applicant. I have spoken to Mr. Hudson in regard to this application, so I can state with some certainty that he is here for this item.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hudson, can you unmute your mic, please? Mr. Hudson, I can't force it to unmute.
We offer him to call your office line.
Actually, he would have to do my cell phone. My office will be forwarded out to the assistant. Mr. Hudson, if you, oh God, I don't want to do this.
You don't need to give out your cell phone, Ed. It was just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Madam President,
Yes,
if I would like to speak as the attorney for the applicant and give a brief presentation, perhaps Mr. Hudson would pick up on the fact that we're talking about the matter that concerns him,
Mr.
if
Cronin,
that's acceptable.
that is, Mr. Cronin, could you please say who your client is, the name of your client?
Certainly. Attorney Thomas Cronin, 1070 Main Street, Coventry, Rhode Island. I represent Mr. Gorman and the owner and DNS Development, the applicant, with regard to this zone change.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Cronin.
Thank you. This is an application for a change of a zone for a single lot. Assessors Plat 38, Lot 68. It's currently zoned R20, and I'm asking it be changed to general business. We appeared before the town council in October and introduced this concept to the council at that time. And then the town council referred this matter to the Coventry Planning Board as state statute requires. The planning board undertook an evaluation of this application and made a positive recommendation to the town council in favor of the zone change. And you should have in your packet that decision from the planning board dated November 18th, 2020. This application is a public hearing. Notice has been sent to the abutters by certified mail, and the town clerk has been of great assistance in advertising this matter for 3 consecutive weeks prior to this hearing. The lot itself is on Arizona Street, just south of Tioga Avenue. Lot 68 is 7,333 square feet. It's vacant land, and it's currently zoned R20. The lot is located on the very line separating the R20 zone from the general business zone. Many years ago, the town of Coventry took action and created the general business zone by going about 200 feet to either side of Tioga Avenue and changing the zone to those properties to general business. This one falls on the edge of that line. The property to the north of lot 68, lot 67, is zoned general businesses and is also a vacant lot and is owned by my clients. The general business zone continues from there to the north to Tioga Avenue. All of those are also vacant at this time. To the east of this lot is a single lot in which half of the lot is located in the general business zone and half of the lot is located in the R20 zone, creating a difficult situation for that owner. But that was formerly Don's Auto Top, and that's currently being used as a garage for auto storage at this time. To the south of lot 68 is a lot zoned R20 that is vacant. And then a residential neighborhood continues to the south or towards Lake Tioga. To the west are two single-family houses, lots 73 and 74. Ironically enough, those single-family houses are on lots that are zoned general business. So it's a difficult area. It's kind of, the line was drawn arbitrarily and kind of created this situation. Lot 68 by itself is too small for commercial development. It has never been developed for this reason. The application is made to change the zone for this lot 68 and join it with lot 67 to form a larger general business lot. The combined lot will be 15,000 square feet, which is the minimum allowed in the general business zone. It's proposed that a storage commercial garage be placed on the lot by the applicant, and they're going to use it for a landscape business. We have proposed to the town council and the Coventry Planning Commission that this building be approximately 60 feet by 60 feet, but if the town council sees fit to change the zone, we will have to return to the planning board for those kind of discussions about the size of the building, the landscape buffers around the building. We have promised to the planning board and to the town council that we would put a fence, six-foot stockade privacy fence between this lot and any residential use to the south to create the necessary separations between the zone. The lot will have public sewer, private well. The vehicular and utility access will be from Arizona Street. I'd ask the town council to strongly consider the planning board's recommendation and grant this application to change lot 68 from R20 to general business on the zoning map of the town of Coventry. I thank the council. Available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cronin. Members of the council, do you have any additional questions? Mr. LeBlanc?
Mr. Cronin, thank you for all that information. Through all the hearings that you've been through, how many residents have actually been against this rezoning?
Nobody has gone forward. I mentioned that I talked to the gentleman who was on the Zoom call, who has now apparently exited, Mr. Hudson. He called me. He had some questions about, in particular, the fence and what the landscape buffer would look like. I don't really know exactly what the landscape buffer would look like, except that there's one required, and the planning commission would decide what that would be made up of and the height and the depth of that. The one thing that Mr. Crossman, the town planner, kind of made me commit to, and my clients commit to early on, was this privacy fence between any development on this property and the residential use to the south.
Great.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Cronin.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Other members of the council, do you have a question? Ms. Ludwig?
I'm trying to look through my packet to see what was approved by the zoning board. does someone have commentary on that? What specifically was approved for the exact thing that we're looking at right now, or what actually went in front of them? Is there any way to get that information? I don't know, from Mr. Wazika, or is there a way to pull what exactly was approved previously? Because I know, Mr. Cronin, you made reference to what was approved, but I just don't have anything in front of me that shows, not that I don't believe you, but trust but verify. So I just
Sure.
wanted to ask that
Yeah.
question before we
So
proceed.
I apologize for my rudimentary technology skills, but this is the one-page decision from the Planning Commission that I assume that you have, entitled Recommendation to Town Council for Zone Change.
I just
I've
I
been
don't
looking
believe
through
I
the
have
same
that.
thing and I don't see it.
We don't have that, Mr. Cronin.
Is that something that you could email to us, Ed? Is it something that we have on hand, or?
I do not have this. This was,
Mr.
Tom,
Crossman.
can you send that to me? Can you email that to me right now?
I can email it to you right now, yes.
And I'll zip it right back out.
While that's taking place, I do have a couple of questions. If we approve this zone change from R20 to general business, right now the proposal is there be a 60 by 60 storage unit, which would be used by a landscaping business. But I'm
Right.
wondering if the landscaping business decides to move out of there and the lot is zoned general business, what other kinds of things could go in there? And I'm concerned about that because that street is a mixed zone, a street in which there are residential properties and there are business properties. And across the street from this particular storage unit, I believe, is a residential property. So what else could go in general business other than this storage unit with a landscape business?
Well, I don't have a specific answer for you, Madam President. The general business zone is probably would encompass most retail businesses, most service businesses, not industrial type uses. So although it's a broad use, any use would have any change of use would require some at least administrative review by the planning department of the town of Coventry for development plan review for if the building were to change in use. But this type of building, it doesn't seem like it would become, say, a Cumberland Farms or some kind of retail business like that. It's going to be constructed. It's proposed as a steel garage with 4 garage doors, separate locked entry doors, with a driveway in the front exiting out onto Arizona Street. So I would suggest that any future use would be similar to the landscape storage type of use. But general business is a widely ranging category for sure.
The other concern I have is that right now that lot is vacant, so it's not generating traffic. Once there is a 60 by 60 storage unit on that lot and a business, there will be increased traffic on that road. The road is not, I would call it fairly narrow. And there are a number of residential homes on that particular street. So I don't know if any kinds of assumptions have been made about traffic flow on that road.
Well, the planning commission and the town engineer and the town planner have minimum standards from the Department of Transportation. And so the plans are considered in light of these minimums. And then if we exceed those minimums or there are issues of special concern, then they order a traffic study from the applicant. So initially the presentation is made by the consulting engineer as to the expected traffic, and that is used to evaluate whether a traffic study is required or recommended. And often the town engineer and Mr. McGee suggest to the planning board stop signs, directional signs, turn restrictions, and things like that to assist with the traffic flow to and from these sites.
Okay. It looks
Mr.
like,
Wazika, did you
yeah.
receive that email?
Just got it. I'm passing it on right now.
Thank you. My apologies, Madam President.
no problem, Mr. Cronin. We appreciate your information. It seems that one of our council members has asked to see that recommendation report from the planning. I wondered if it's prudent for us to, Mr. Wazika, Mr. D'Agostino, can we continue this hearing after we get more information and continue it on April 12th?
You can continue it. It has been noticed as a public hearing, and the appropriate thing to do would be to continue it as you just suggested, which is continue this public hearing to April 12th, which is a date certain that would not require the additional advertising or notice. Anybody that's interested that's appearing this evening would know, if that's what the council wanted to do, that this matter would be continued to April 12th.
I'd like
We did get it in our email, by the way, President Dixon.
Yeah, you've got it. You've got.
We do have it. It doesn't appear to be signed, but it does appear to show the vote that did take place.
Are there any conditions listed in it?
Give me 1 second.
Certainly.
It says that they appeared, they asked for and requested a favorable recommendation be given to the town council for the zone change. Says based on a motion by member Glenn Anderson and seconded by member Pacelli, it is hereby decreed that the planning commission forwards a favorable recommendation to the town council regarding the proposed zone change from R20 to general business in regards to AP 38 lot 68, with everybody voting to approve. There were no rejections.
So it gives no specific information about traffic flow, anticipated traffic, kinds of business or anything like that in that letter?
Not that I can, no.
Okay.
Dave, correct me if I'm wrong. They don't normally do that. They just make the recommendation.
Correct. So procedurally, just to reiterate, the request for a zone change is made to the council. The council then forwards the concept of a zone change to the plan commission for the plan commission to weigh in on the conceptual idea. I think Mr. Cronin addressed this, but certainly at such time, if the council were to approve this, the project to go forward is then going to be subject to development plan review and further evaluation by the planning commission and administrative staff, which could very well include a traffic study to address the questions and concerns that you have raised this evening. So the initial review of this proposed concept by the plan commission was the review of a concept. The plan commission was not asked to go into any detail about the specifics of the projects, the vetting of the project, merely just to provide a recommendation to the council on the proposed zone change. Those additional vetting details would take place if this project proceeded to development plan review.
Okay. Is any vote necessary for us this evening then?
A vote would be necessary for you to continue this to a future hearing, if that's what you decide to do. If you're satisfied with the recommendation and then, the representation read into the record by Councilor LeBlanc, I can tell you I was at the planning board meeting where this was approved. I know there is a signed copy in the file in terms of the planning board's recommendation. But you should take a vote this evening either to continue this to April 12, if you have any questions, or to take a vote on approving or denying the zone change as presented.
Okay.
President
Mr.
Dixon,
LeBlanc,
So just to summarize, it sounds like we're going from a vacant lot to actually putting a building on that lot that's going to end up being taxable. It's going to be a new business to town, which I think is great. And it sounds like it's in a certain area where there's already commercial and residential. So just to summarize, and actually, Mr. Cronin said that there was no residents at any of the hearings present to go against this project. So I don't think there's a need to table, but I just wanted to summarize all that.
Okay. Comments by the other members of the council? Mrs.
One more
Johnson?
question. Being that it's a landscaping business, do you know if they do plowing and if they plan on keeping vehicles there?
I apologize, Mrs. Shockley, I do not know the answer to that question.
Just thinking of noise levels, possibly not during business hours.
Yeah, I apologize, I don't know the answer. The primary purpose is to safely and, store the equipment out of sight and securely in a place where you could, do so without disturbing a residential use close to Tioga Avenue in that area.
Okay, Ms. Ludwig, your opinion, please.
60 by 60 is pretty small. By what I've heard now that I've seen the approval recommendation from the Planning Commission, I don't want to create hurdles to small businesses in town. This is, as as Councilperson LeBlanc mentioned, a multi-zone area. So I am comfortable moving forward with the vote tonight, and knowing that anything that ends up on this land is going to have to go back through the proper channels as well.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. The vote is to approve the zoning change for.
Excuse me.
Yes.
You've still got a public hearing open.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
you still need to check to see if you've got anybody who wants to speak.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak?
If anyone in the audience would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand and I will bring you into the meeting. One more time, if anyone would like to speak on this matter, please raise your hand and I will bring you into the meeting so you can voice your comments. One last time, third strike. If anyone would like to speak on this meeting, please raise your hand and I will bring you into the public hearing. Hearing none, seeing none, Madam Chair.
Thank you. May I have a motion to close public hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. May I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Any discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote by hand. A motion to close public hearing. If you approve, raise your hand, please. Okay, 4 yeas, no nays.
My client and I thank the board. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Now, Mr. D'Agostino, the public hearing is closed. Do we take a vote now?
Yes, now would be when you would take a vote on the proposed zone change to approve or deny.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the zone change for plat 38, lot 68 from R20 to general business.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc.
I'll
Do I
second
have
it.
a second?
I'll second it.
Mrs. Shockley? Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 3 yeas. Nay, 1. Thank you. We are now at item number H, public comment. Mr. Wazika, are there members of the public who would like to speak?
Well, there's 22 members of the public, and if anyone would like to speak at public comment, again, please raise your hand. I will bring you into the meeting. Second call. If anyone in the public would like to speak at public comment, please raise your hand and I will bring you into the meeting. Third and final offer. If anyone in the public would like to speak at public comment, please raise your hand and I will bring you into the meeting. Madam Chair, seeing none, hearing none, we have no one that would like to speak.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank the members of the public who stayed with us for this entire meeting. It was a long meeting, but we did have much to accomplish. So thank you very much for your participation in this process. Also like to thank the members of our municipal staff. Mr. D'Agostino, thank you for your wise counsel this evening. Thank you, Chief Heiss. And thank you for Ms. Mills sticking with us the entire evening, and Ms. Amatrano. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Shockley. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Ms. Ludwig. Any discussion about adjourning? No, okay. Roll call vote.
We're gonna roll call it?
Sure, we're going to raise our hand. Ready to adjourn? I think 4 yeas, no nays. Thank you so much. Mr. Wazika, we'll be seeing you again on Saturday, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. I'll be seeing all the members of the council on Saturday also. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.